everyone, and a very warm welcome to today's webinar. I am Srishti and I'll be your host for the session. Thank you for taking the time to join us today. We are absolutely thrilled to have such an incredible audience with us. Just the few housekeeping notes before we start. The session is being recorded, and you'll be receiving the recording and your participation certificates shortly after the webinar is over. So we will request you to please stay till the end so that you get the gist of everything that we would like to let you guys know and also receive your participation certificates. In today's highly competitive landscape, competing on price alone is no longer sustainable. So organizations and professionals alike are constantly looking for ways to stand out, differentiate, and most importantly, command premium value for what they offer. That's exactly what today's session is all about. Understanding how certifications and strategic positioning can help you move beyond price wars and building long term value. I'm delighted to introduce our speaker for today. We have with us Mr. Bill Becker, Vice President Strategic Partnerships at AI Certs. Bill is a longtime writer and speaker on careers and is the author of two insightful books, The Job Nobody Dreams of, Inside the Greatest Career You Have Never Had of, and Create Your Own Job, an innovative strategy for job applicants. His perspectives on careers, positioning, and value creation are truly unique and impactful. We were also scheduled to be joined by Miranda Van Berkel today. However, due to a family emergency, she is unable to be with us today. That said, we are in a very insightful session, and without taking much time, I'd like to invite Bill to take it forward and share his insights with us. Bill, over to you.
All right. Thank you so much. And thank you for joining us today. I know for most of you, this is in the evening. So the fact that you're here, big time kudos to you all. One of the things that I wanted to share kind of up front, because, the title of this is Stop Competing on Price. You're actually competing against zero, right? I think everybody knows you can learn whatever you want for free on the internet. So if you were going to go and teach yourself this AI thing, what would you do? Well, if you're smart, you would go look at case studies in your industry, right? If you're really smart, you go look at case studies in other industries, because if you're in manufacturing, looking at a case study in medical or retail, you might go, okay, well, that's how they did it over there. This is how we would do it. Then you would go look at AI tools that people are using in your job role. And there's a whole bunch of them, right? And there's more of them coming every day. But you play around with them a little bit. And so you were legit AI ready. You didn't pay a dime. Prove it. That's the beauty of what we offer, the certification. So AI Certs considers itself a certification org that provides training through our partners. So we will, dive more into that. But I think that's an important distinction of what's going on, that, there are cheaper alternatives out there, but there's also free. But the whole thing is, this is a unique time in history, right? You can't go 5 minutes and not hear those two letters. And so, but it's a great opportunity, because there's never been a time like this where everyone's talking about this and everyone's wondering, how do I get AI ready? How do I get my company AI ready? And so that's the opportunity that we're going to talk about today. So we'll talk a little bit about certifications and, why you should not do it yourself, even though, again, that you can. And then, the benefits of the partnership programs that we offer. So, and I do a lot of these webinars. Obviously, I spend a lot of my time, in North America, but, and we always have some of these different stats. And, I think everyone can understand that in the end, everybody realizes that there's a lot of noise out there. There's a lot going on. Everybody there's a lot of anxiety, right? There's anxiety on the workforce. There's like, how am I going to lose my job to AI? I see all these headlines, 16,000 people laid off, 10,000 people laid off. I think most people understand that those are lies. Unfortunately, the layoffs are real, but being attributed to AI, not the case. AI cannot replace citywide worth of people today. Those headlines, and I talk and write about the layoffs quite a bit. It's to appease Wall Street or ship jobs overseas. AI is coming for tasks more than it's coming for jobs. And again, that's the really good opportunity, right? If you can free up 2, 3, 4 hours a week, you can become a much better employee. you can have a much better workforce because now people can use their years of experience, use their institutional knowledge to do more exciting things that are more valuable to a company. So we look at different areas of what's going on with AI. So, this is the duh moment, right? Enterprises are the biggest opportunity. I come from the IT training world. And I'll talk to traditional IT training companies. I go, remember when you did 5-day SQL classes and you made bank? They go, yeah, the good old days. Maybe 2% of the world has even heard of SQL, knows what SQL is. As I mentioned earlier, the entire world at least knows about AI. So, and go back to that SQL opportunity that, the company might have sent, one or two DBAs to that, or, they sent a couple people to a systems admin class. Entire workforce needs to be AI ready. It could be simply just basic AI literacy, right? But then you can also in 2026 make a very strong case that everyone needs to know how to write good prompts. No longer a nice to have career skill. It's a must have. And then as we'll get into it, but then you have role specific courses. And that's the big thing about AI certs. So, I don't want to assume anything going into this. So the big difference for us, the first one is, our courses don't train on AI. I was like, well, Bill, what are you talking about? What do you mean you don't train on AI? The courses train on how AI impacts specific job roles with a certification. No one else in the world does that. So how does AI impact attorneys is much different than how AI impacts doctors. And so that's a big differentiate. So you have entire workforces that need to get AI ready. They need basic AI literacy. They need to know how to write good prompts. Then the role specific courses. So right there's a very strong case for every person in a company, regardless of what that company does, needs 3 courses. And then you have the executive level courses. So all to say that's a great opportunity, for training partners to go out there and work on enterprise deals. Government, the mandates out there are awesome, right? There's never been something like this in history where, the government's saying you need to get AI ready. And I think Europe is doing a much better job than the US. I know just off the top of my head, the Italian government has an AI initiative. Just as an example, here in the States, because often we have people attend different webinars, that Texas rolled out an initiative a year and a half ago. Every public employee has to be trained on AI. And when you have these government initiatives, they often come with, money to back it up. That's an amazing opportunity. Associations are also really an amazing opportunity for training partners and even associations that become a training partner. So again, what are we talking about? We're talking about people that need to get AI ready. So associations are made up of people. And again, they're looking for member benefits. We also do some really unique things with associations. So far, we've done 2 co-developed deals with associations. One of them is with Cyber Future Foundation. We have 2 co-developed courses, one for executives and then one for practitioners. Very good courses on cybersecurity and the framework and things that people need to do. The other one is relatively new, like 3 weeks old, is the Institute of Internal Auditors. This has been a massive success. Who knew there were so many internal auditors around the world, right? But it's just examples of some of the things we do with associations. So if you're a training partner, associations are a very strong place to go after. If you're an association, attending or listening to this webinar today, there's great opportunities for you to become a partner, helping your membership, not just with, our catalog of courses, but there might be an opportunity there to do a co-develop, co-sell program. And then, of course, academic opportunities. There's multiple opportunities there, for colleges and universities and schools. It's the current students. There's a couple plays there. Are our courses going to go into the curriculum? That's a little bit, often a lot longer path, but it's happening. Sometimes it's easier to put it on top of the curriculum. And then there's 2 other areas. The first one, and it's a lot of times schools don't think about this, but every one of your alumni is thinking about AI. So that's a great avenue, for immediate revenue to go after and let your alumni know. Can be a great fundraiser. The other part is I know a lot of schools, universities have adult continuing education programs. And again, all of them, first thing they're thinking about when they're looking to upskill is how am I going to get myself AI ready? So one of the things that, makes us stand out as opposed to just some generic stuff or doing it yourself is you can go out. You may have built the greatest AI course ever. Guess what? In 90 days, it's probably not going to be the greatest course ever. With our courses, so today there's 75-ish. We'll have 200-ish by the end of the year. Every course has an instructor-led version and an e-learning version. No matter how you take the course, you get access to it for a year. And because it's AI, something's probably going to change, right? So we look at everything on a quarterly basis. And if something gets updated, the student will get an email and said, hey, Kevin, we added a new case study to your course, or we found a new AI tool that people in your job role we thought that you should take a look at. The other thing too is, the importance of the certification. So every course actually starts with the exam. These are legit exams. They're proctored, and there's two of them that are, two opportunities. So unlike traditional IT training certifications, where you pay for a course, then you go buy an exam voucher, maybe even go someplace else to take the exam, everything is self-contained on our platform. Yet you get two shots at the exam, during that year's access. Everything starts though with that exam. So we look and say, we're going to do an exam and a course for this particular job role. A lot of research, a lot of job task analysis. In the end, really boring stuff probably to the layperson. But it creates a legit proctored exam, and from that come the courses. And then we make sure that we, update that. Think about, and I go back to, the enterprise opportunity. So companies know, we know we got to get everything, we got to get the staff AI ready. It's not going to be an insignificant investment, right? It's not getting a couple people, a SQL class or, 20 people with an Excel class. We have to get the entire workforce AI ready, and we have to, it's probably going to involve more than one course per person. That's a big time investment. They want to know how do we know we got a good, return on that investment? First question, did your people get certified? Again, the beauty of the certification is proving what, that company, that organization, the association, the academic institution, did the people get certified in the end? The other thing too is, regardless, and we have partners that are big time IT training companies, association, academia. We have a bunch of solopreneurs out there too. These are people that have built up a list of contacts over the course of their career. And again, all those contacts are wondering about, what am I going to do with this AI thing? And so focus on what you do best, delivering training, talking to your customers. The partnership program, which we'll get into in a little bit, but it's designed to help you monetize this it's these sales. Just something to think about. There's this big light shining on this, so everyone's got anxiety. The workforce has got anxiety, the executives have anxiety. They want to make sure, they know they got to do something. They're terrified of making the wrong decision. And when you can talk to them about, look, these are different. These are how does AI impact specific job roles with a certification? That makes a lot of sense. The other thing too is this is not just a one-off. For those of you that are old enough to remember the year 2000 bug, kind of nonsense. Luckily, it ended up being kind of a nothing burger. But that was just like a 2-year push, and then it was all over. This is not the same thing. This is not a 2-year push like, all right, we got everyone AI ready. We've adopted AI. Now we can move on to whatever the next thing is. That's not the case. Companies are going to adopt AI, and then they're going to adapt it. And so this is a reoccurring revenue opportunity for training partners. That's something that you should be excited about. So all to say is like, you don't want to compete on price. You don't want to compete on, the freebies. There's some opportunities here with the right program for you to make, a significant amount of revenue. So we talked about a little bit. You could go build it yourself. It's going to take time. It's going to take money. And more importantly, you have to keep it updated. This is not something that you can just build the greatest widget in the world and then look at it again in a year or 18 months. It needs to be constantly updated. Tools change, use cases change. Just why would you do it yourself when you can focus on actually selling something? Partnering with someone like us, it makes a lot of sense. And we're going to dive into that a little bit. Today, that 114,000 learners is we honestly we need to update that. We have 500 instructors around the world. I mentioned 75 courses. Every course today is available in English, Spanish, and then we have pockets of other German, Arabic, French. We're waiting for partners to come to us and say, hey, we got 200 people that need AI plus healthcare in Portuguese. I know we have a couple things working on, to localize some courses, Swedish, in Korean. That's in regardless of where you're located, whether in Europe, whether in North America, your customers, this is a world economy, right? So your customers probably have employees all over the world. So if you can offer a great solution in multiple languages, that's an exciting, offering to talk about. And again, you also have it. You can do it instructor led. You can do it e-learning. We see as, especially with enterprises, as they are rolling out AI initiatives, it's a hybrid, right? They're going to have some people are going to take an instructor led class, and then, the rest of the workforce is going to do e-learning. And so that's the beauty of it. You can offer both. So the other thing too, and we're going to dive into this, is, we sell through partners. Can someone go to our website and buy a single course? Absolutely. It happens every day, but they cannot get enterprise pricing. They cannot buy an instructor-led class. If they go to our website and try, they will be forced to choose a partner. They cannot get something that we just rolled out a few weeks ago is an all-you-can-eat e-learning subscription. So one price per employee, you get all access to all the courses today, not the three co-developed, but you get access to all of those, and then everything that's rolled out over the next 364 days, they will get access to that. So that's an exciting thing for enterprise sales. And when you have all these different ways to sell instructor-led, sell single courses, sell subscriptions, and then we're going to dive into some of the stuff that we do to support our partners. But just in the end, we don't make money unless our partners do, and so our interests are aligned. So again, kind of to summarize things, that we have the content, it begins as an exam, the flow of a course, and regardless of how it's delivered, right? There's a lecture. And at some point in the lecture, and I'll show you the UI here in a bit, but at some point in the lecture, it's like, all right, let's go look at some case studies that are relevant to your industry. A little bit later, it's like, all right, let's go play with some AI tools that people in your job role are using today. They go through 3 or 4 of those tools. You will not become proficient in those tools in a 1-day class or a 5-day class, for the technical ones. And a 1-day class equals 6-8 hours e-learning. 5-day class equals 40 hours of e-learning. So you don't become proficient playing around with those tools, but you do get your hands dirty. And the idea is, after the training, you go, you know what? I saw some tools there during that training. I'm going to go spend more time with that one. In addition, there's an addendum in each course of a list of 10 to 20 other job role specific tools that we've curated. And we think, hey, we think you maybe should go take a look at those. There are self checks through each module. So a module, you have different exercises. Then there's a self check to say, hey, think you're ready to go on to module 2? And then we'll talk a little bit more about that. But again, and we're going to dive deep into this, is the go-to-market support. I came out of retirement for this last year because I was so impressed with all the sales and marketing support. So again, today, 70 plus certifications. The 1-day ones are what we call professional. Those are the job role specific, doctor, nurse, attorney, project manager, sales. The 5-day are mostly technical. We're kind of moving, away from technical to mastery. So that's the cybersecurity courses, the development, the cloud courses. We do have a 5-day project management course coming out. So then we'll have a 1-day, and then we'll have a 5-day but for the most part, the 5-day are the technical ones. So how do you partner with us? There's 4 ways. So authorized training provider, authorized training partner, that's kind of the traditional thing. That's your traditional IT training companies. You might be a project management training company. You might be a healthcare training company. Just you provide training, you sell training, whatever it is. Adding an AI offering just makes all kinds of sense, right? Because whether you've been in business for a year or 30 years, you've built up this database of customers. Again, know you, trust you, has spent money with you. They're all looking for some answers on this AI thing. The other one is, as an academic partner, again, school, university, whatever. I mentioned the different ways that, are you going to integrate it into the curriculum? Are you going to put it on top of the curriculum? We talked to one school last year that talked about just how hard it is to get curriculum, updated and approved into a course. And she goes, you know what? I don't need anyone's permission for freshman orientation. So they were going to put the courses in there. And when I talked about, having the year's access to the courses and everything, they go, oh, well, it's just like renting a course book. I go, oh, it's way better than renting a course book. First off, by the time that textbook reaches the student's hands, it's probably outdated, right? So again, you have content that's going to be looked at on a quarterly basis that will be updated. And so, again, academic, multiple ways to go about that. We talked a little bit about associations, whatever it is, healthcare association, manufacturing association, that is a group of people that you can go after that and do special benefits for them, help them on their fundraising because you can do, a revenue share. Just so many different cool things you can do with associations. And the one thing we haven't talked about is become an affiliate partner. So those first 3 are what I call full partnerships. You can sell and deliver instructor-led classes, and you can sell the e-learning. And instructor-led, there's actually 3 ways that can work. So you can deliver it yourself. So you or your employees can get certified to teach a specific course. It does not cost anything to get certified to teach a course. That person simply does the course, passes the exam, and then we have a trainer portal that has all kinds of resources. A lot of us came from, the traditional IT training company background. So once a person has passed a course and wants to become a trainer, we have the PowerPoint deck for every course. We have lecture notes. Every course has a AI mentor for learners, right? Think of it as a homework helper, teaching assistant, same thing. Every course has an AI mentor for instructors to help them prep and deliver a great course. So that's the instructor led. As an affiliate, I think, probably most of you kind of understand how affiliate programs work. You get links that you can post. Maybe you have a podcast, maybe you have a newsletter, but it's just a way to immediately sell, e-learning. And then we just, there's a revenue split there. Surprisingly enough, though, some people will do both one of the 3 full partnerships and become an affiliate. I'll tell you why. Because it gives you instant e-commerce ability. So a lot of companies, they post stuff on their website, and if you're interested, there's a phone number or there's a form to fill out. But in the end, we all want to make money while we sleep, right? And so you can set up e-commerce on your website, and some of you may already have that. And so we have great integration documentation. So if you already have a website and an LMS that's fully functional, we can connect the pipes on that. Like I said, we got tons of documentation. We also have an amazing integration team that can answer questions. But if you're kind of a small organization and you don't have that, but you want to have e-commerce on your website today, you become an affiliate. You can put those links up on your website. You can do an email blast. You can have sales immediately. And some partners just do that, full time going forward. Others do that as kind of a stopgap while they get their own e-commerce set up on their website. So all to say is there's multiple ways to partner with us. And that's why, in the end, we hope that you will reach out and talk to one of the European sales team because we have some exciting stories to share. And we love to strategize about how best to work with each individual partner. So kind of in the end, we have this program. You don't have to go out and design your own courses and design your own marketing materials. You have this database. We can help plug it in and start monetizing that immediately. I mentioned about the sales and marketing. Today we have over 700 sales and marketing assets. That's a lot, right? Every course has a course outline. Every course has an executive summary. Executive summary is, I like to think of a course outline on steroids. We have webinar in the box. We have social media kits that are customizable and then they're set up for different regions around the world. We love to do webinars with our clients. And there's different types of webinars, right? It can be a webinar where it's like me or one of my counterparts in Europe are just, talking for, 20, 30 minutes and then have a Q&A. The other thing that we do with partners, I call a fireside chat, where I will, do a meeting with the principal, the CEO, the president, and we just have a conversation for 30 minutes talking about the need for companies and individuals to upskill themselves in the age of AI. So again, lots of sales and marketing. We have battle cards for your sales team. We'll go on sales calls with our partners. We'll talk as little or as much as you would like. Again, we do that because our interests are aligned. If our partners don't sell anything, we don't make any money. So we all want the same thing here, right? Again, once you come on board, first thing when you come on board, we get your logo, we start working on a press release that you can approve, and then we get you into the partner portal. We get, if you have instructors that need to start, getting ready for to prepping for a particular course. We have all these. We have partner success managers. We have this whole ecosystem that will help partners become successful. The only reason you wouldn't become successful is you don't engage, which sounds kind of weird. But it's not that, hey, you can sign up and, AI Search is going to do all the work and I'm going to get rich. Not how that works. You have to, this is a partnership. That's why we call it a partner program. But I think, what I've shared, I know what I've shared makes a lot of sense. You have the entire world that's been already kind of, the waters have been chummed, if you will. Everyone's thinking about AI. Everyone's wondering how am I going to get myself AI ready? How am I going to get my workforce AI ready? One of the things that I have found, I do a ton of HR webinars every month. HR is a natural entry point into companies because training is going to be a big portion of AI adoption, right? And when I do those webinars, it's like, look, we can make you a hero. We already know that you have this anxiety. Your workforce certainly has anxiety. And there's some things that we can tell them to kind of calm that anxiety. The executives above you have anxiety because, they're answering to a board or an ownership. It's like, what are we going to do about this AI thing? And so, I frame those as like, look, we can make HR a hero in this situation. Because again, going back, what is everyone buying? They're buying peace of mind that they made the right decision in getting their workforce AI ready. And again, different ways to make money that, the instructor-led training, obviously bigger margins than on e-learning. But it's, again, in the age of AI, where the entire employee base needs to get trained, e-learning is going to play a big part of that. And there's going to be opportunities there for to run classes. And I don't know if I finished the thought earlier about instructor-led training. So you can deliver your own training. You can sell into another partner's class and you simply split the revenue 50-50. We have one partner that actually will give the partners 60% of the revenue. And that's good. If you have just one or two people that need, AI plus nurse and you don't have your own person ready, you sell into another partner's class. If you have a group of people, say 5 or 20, that need a particular class and you don't have anyone, rent an instructor. You saw earlier, we have 500 instructors around the world that are, kind of sitting on a bench. They're either independent instructors or they belong to another partner. But just rent an instructor and then you get to keep, all the revenue minus the cost of the courseware and the instructor. So multiple ways to have some great margins on instructor-led training. The e-learning, again, the All Access Pass, which is really new, is very exciting because that gives everyone access to all the courses. Now, people are not going to take all 70 courses, right? Everyone has good intentions, but I think we all understand. In the end, they're going to go, an individual is going to take, 2 or 3 courses, get the certification. And this having an all access, all you can eat subscription, that helps everybody because now HR doesn't have to sit there and go, dang, I have 750 people I got to get courses for. I don't want to pull it up and say, all right, Kevin needs these 2 courses, Betty needs these 3 courses. You give them access to everything and let them choose at a very reasonable cost per employee. The other thing, and this is what partners have come back and told us, this happening with the All Access Pass, is people go, I would never taken this course, this entire course, but there's 2 modules in there that are really interesting to me. And there's a module in this course that seems pretty cool. I'm going to do that. And so that's kind of on an individual basis, but it also allows companies to customize and put together custom training paths. They'll take 3 modules from this course, 3 modules from this course. So you can do the same thing with instructor led. We can put together a custom course for you. When that happens, the certification comes off the table, right? Because you're taking modules from different courses. But as much as we talk about certification, there are instances where the training is more important. The example I always give, I feel like I need to get a better example, but if I'm an attorney, I'm a lawyer, and I just want to know how AI is going to affect my law practice, I'm all in on, AI plus law, AI plus law agent, but I don't care about the certification. Most people do, because if you're an individual, you want to keep your job, you want to get a better job, you want to, get a promotion. The certification is super important for businesses that, again, going back to this money that they're going to have to invest in their workforce. Certification is a must-have because they need to know, did they get a good return on that investment? So I mentioned the partner portal. So there's 3 portals that we have, where you go and take the course. That's the learner portal. I mentioned the trainer portal. That's where the PowerPoint decks, lecture notes are there for instructors. And then the partner portal is what you're seeing here. So this is where it serves multiple purposes. This is where you go enroll students. Certainly if it's an instructor led, you go in because you have to choose the instructor, you enroll the students, then we send out the credentials. If you're enrolling people in e-learning manually, this is where you go. It's very simple. There's a spreadsheet. You put the course, you put the name, you put the email address. Again, we send out the credentials. If you have an integration with us, then you don't need to worry about that for e-learning. But you also, will see, all 700 and some odd sales and marketing assets so you can go pull, podcasts, you can pull course outlines, you can pull, Canva templates to put together your own social media messages and co-brand that. Everything we have, you can co-brand. You can't white label it because the certification is our IP. We certainly can co-brand everything. And then on the right side, the other thing that the partner portal is very good and is very important is to see what's going on with the students you've enrolled. And you can go in there and see, hey, is Bill even ever enrolled in logged in and looked at his class? All right, Bill is logged in. Last time he logged in was last Wednesday. How far along in the course is he? Has Bill ever attempted the exam? Has Bill passed the exam? That's good information for you. And if you're sending out, prospects, one of the courses we have is free, and that's called AI Plus Foundations. That is, instead of a 6-8 hour e-learning, it's 3 to 4 hours. And it's free for a couple of reasons. First, is it incredible lead generation for our partners. So one of the first things you should do when you sign up as a partner is carpet bomb everybody with that free foundations course. It's a legit course. It has its own certification. And again, it's just basic AI literacy. But it allows people to look and say, all right, this is good stuff. I love the UI. The UI is our other big selling point. We'll talk about that in a minute. But when you do that and you give out those, then you can go back in and say, hey, did Bill ever log in to see, foundations? It's also very important for you when you're, selling to organizations. Again, great. We know that we just got 200 people into AI Plus executive. We want to know how many of those 200 people have even logged in. How far along are they in the course? How long? That's reporting that they're going to want to know, and then now you can give your customers. The other thing about the free foundations is it's great for philanthropic efforts, and even that comes back. They can come back as revenue. So, there are nonprofits out there that, regardless of what country you're in, but, here in the US, I've done a lot of things with organizations that work with people who've been incarcerated. You think it's tough finding a job today? Now have a 5-year gap on your resume. So we've shared foundations with those people. But think about this. Every nonprofit's got board members, and those board members are tied back to a company that's got 100 people or 10,000 employees. And so when they hear about this, they go, wait, what's this? I want to talk to somebody about this for my company. So even something that's, that is a legit good intention also can come back in more ways than just doing good. So I mentioned the other big thing, our UI. So when we say multimodality with our courses, and that means there's different ways that you can consume the content. There's a lecture, and even after the instructor-led training. So you take a one-day instructor-led class. For the next 364 days, you have the exact same content as the e-learning. So you have a video lecture. So watch, you have the ebook. Read. If you're like me, I watch the videos with the closed captioning on. And you can actually, I mention this because people keep mentioning it to me. You can actually speed up the videos or the audio portions. If you just can consume a little bit quicker, if you can go 1.2, 1.5, but you can watch, read. There's 2 audio components of every course and every lesson. There's the traditional audio book, so one voice in your head, and then podcasts. Podcasts are unbelievably popular. We also say multi-device, so computer, tablet, phone. People are doing lessons on their phone all the time. You can actually log in and do lessons on your phone, but we also have an app that makes it even easier, and that app has been downloaded over 750,000 times, probably getting close to 800,000. But people are listening, doing lessons, listening on their phone to a podcast while they're working out, walking the dog, doing laundry. And so that's just a very cool thing where there's people like to learn differently, right? I like videos. Other people like podcasts. People just like to read. You can literally go down that right-hand side. Every single lesson, you got 4 ways to consume that lesson. And then you also have the AI mentor, the learning assistant. So big claim to fame for us. What separates us is our courses train on how AI impacts specific job roles. We don't train on technology, right? Microsoft, AWS, they all have their own AI certifications. That is on their specific technology. We used to say, in the early days, we were vendor neutral. Now we say we're vendor aligned. And you go to our website and see how some of our courses align to some of the well-known industry certifications. But again, we're not training on technology. We're training on how AI impacts job roles with the certification. And then our courses are multimodality. That is just an outstanding combination. So, when we finish up here, the exams are 90 minutes. You got, 50 questions. You got to get 70% right. I mentioned you get 2 shots at it. At some point, people will ask, and yes, if someone needed a third attempt, they can buy an exam voucher from you, and even that, gives you, a few dollars, profit on that. But the idea is when you go through the course, again, there's multiple self-checks as you go through that. You feel pretty good. You go through the exam. If you barely missed it, you go through it again. And then you see there on the lower left hand, you see these all over LinkedIn. Once you pass the exam, you get a badge that you can, and we actually make it almost automated. You can post that on LinkedIn. We do have course completion certificates. We didn't in the beginning because we were really focused on the exam. But the course completion certificates came into play for a couple of reasons, mostly because now the courses are being used for continuing education credits. And the course completion certificate needed that. So I know a lot of different bodies have given us blessing for the course completion certificate being eligible for continuing education credits for that, whatever professional body that is. So how does this work, Bill? What do we do? Well, you figure out the best path on how you want to partner with this. Are you a training company or an individual that's built up, this collection of business contacts over the years? Are you academic or whatever? You you you're at some point you're going to talk to one of us, my colleagues over there in Europe, and figure out the best way. Typically, there's a meeting, and then we show you the partnership agreement. Once you're ready to sign, we resend it through DocuSign. Once you sign, that's when the fun starts, right? That's when we go to work. And we have a lot of people in this company in different ways that'll help you get going. And because we want to get you to revenue as quickly as possible. And then you get a few success stories. Then we figure out, hey, what are some ways that we can expand this? More webinars. Use the success you have to go, find similar companies that, again, that's where the fun starts, right? Because now you're just doing this AI thing and making money. And I assume if you signed up for this webinar, you're all motivated to some degree about making money. So again, just kind of summarize all this, that there's all kinds of ways to go out and get AI ready. We know that we're the best option because we're not training on AI. We're training on how AI impacts job roles with a certification. And we have so many sales and marketing assets and people to help our partners be successful. So with that, I will stop talking and see if there's any questions.
Thank you, Bill, for sharing those wonderful and practical insights with us today. I think we do not have any such questions as of now. We'll just wait for a couple of minutes and see if people have anything. I would request the audience to please drop in their questions or queries or any doubts regarding the program or the certifications or the company itself in the chat box. We'll be very happy to answer them right away. Also, you have all the contact information in the chat box. So if you think that you have anything coming up later on after the session, so please feel free to reach out to us directly over the website and our social media handles, and we'll be getting in touch with you one-on-one.
So yeah, if you're like me, as soon as we're done, you go, I do have a question. Just, reach out to us.
Yes, and we'll be sharing the recordings and everything via an email shortly. Also, you'll be receiving your participation certificates as soon as the webinar gets over. So please post them on LinkedIn. Maybe you can tag us and you can be a part of our community, the AI Certs community. I think, Bill, we do not have any questions as of now, but yeah, as we said, we'll be very happy to have a one-on-one conversation. So please feel free to reach out to us. Thank you once again, everyone. Have a great day ahead.
Take care. Thank you so much for your time, everyone.